The delicate teacup slipped from Selina's trembling hands, shattering on the ground with a loud crash that mirrored the breaking of her heart. Yet it wasn't the sound that made her tremble. It was the words seeping through the thin wall separating her room from the one behind it. She could hear them. Her fiancé, Gabriel Dawson, and her supposed closest friend, Leah, laughing about their scheme to humiliate her at their wedding the next day. Those words, spoken by the man she had saved, the one who had promised eternal love, echoed in her mind. 3 long years of pretending to be blind, testing a man's character. And now she had the heartbreaking truth. The bitter taste of betrayal filled her mouth as she pressed her hands to her eyes, trying to stop the flood of tears no one thought she could shed. "I can't wait to be rid of this burden," Gabriel's voice dripped with disdain. 3 years wasted with a woman who couldn't even see my face. Tomorrow I'll finally be free. Hot tears burned behind Selina's blindfold. The white cloth that had hidden her seeing eyes for so long now felt like a mockery. Her throat constricted, the pain of betrayal cutting deeper than any wound. The man she had saved from a fiery crash, a wreck she had risked her life to pull him from, was planning to throw her away like garbage. The blindfold was a blessing in disguise. Leah giggled from the other side of the wall. Selina's legs buckled beneath her, and she collapsed among the shards of broken china. The pain in her chest felt like 1,000 daggers. Her fingers dug into her palms, breaking her skin in an attempt to hold onto something solid, something real. Poor, blind, useless Selina. Gabriel's voice echoed with cruel laughter. Tomorrow, when she walks down the aisle in that ridiculous outfit I've arranged for her, everyone will laugh. They'll all know that you're my true love, and that pathetic blind girl will be humiliated before the entire community. And no one will blame you, Leah added eagerly. Who would ever expect a man like you to stay with a blind woman forever? It was kind of you to stick with her this long. Kind, Gabriel scoffed. It was pity and nothing more. Selina stifled a sob, pressing her hand over her mouth. 3 years ago, she had pulled him from that car wreck when he had recklessly crashed, leaving her injured, her sight damaged by the smoke. What they didn't know was that her sight had been fully restored after months of painful surgery. Her family, protective and powerful, had advised her to continue wearing the blindfold, to see if Gabriel truly loved her for who she was, not for her wealth or status. Now she had her answer, and it was as painful as any wound. Gabriel's voice grew quieter as he whispered to Leah, "Did you see her mother yesterday? Dressed like a common market woman, and her father works as a security guard somewhere. Such a pathetic family. More laughter, more blades to her heart. If only they knew. If only they knew that her mother's humble appearance was a carefully cultivated disguise. And her father, well, he was the head of one of the largest tech companies in the country, secretly watching Gabriel's every move, understanding his true character." With trembling hands, Selina reached for her blindfold, lifting it just enough to wipe away the tears. She hadn't seen light in so long. 3 years of darkness by choice. Stumbling, being led, enduring pitying glances, all to test the man she thought she loved. Gabriel's voice rose again. "Just imagine her face when she realizes she's been replaced." Selina stood, her legs weak but determined. She moved toward the small mirror in her simple room. She removed the blindfold, blinking as the dim light flooded her vision, revealing a beautiful young woman with red, swollen eyes. But there was strength in those eyes now, a hardness that hadn't been there before. "This isn't a wedding day," she whispered to her reflection. "This is a day of truth." That night, as the house settled after the chaos of wedding preparations, Selina quietly slipped out, leaving the blindfold behind. The cool air on her face felt both foreign and freeing. She was not just the blind fiancée of Gabriel Dawson anymore. She was herself. The evening market was alive with people, the smells of grilled meats and spices filling the air. Lanterns cast a soft glow, and vendors haggled over the last deals of the day. Selina let her fingers brush against vibrant fabrics at one stall, savoring the rich colors she had long been denied. She bought a string of coral beads, a small but meaningful token of her true identity, to wear the next day at the right moment. A voice interrupted her, gruff and commanding. "Pretty girls like you shouldn't be out alone at night." Turning, she saw 3 men blocking her path, their eyes scanning her body. Fear gripped her heart, the old, familiar fear she had forgotten existed while living behind the blindfold. "Let me pass," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Not before you buy us drinks," one man sneered, grabbing her wrist with painful force. Selena tried to pull away, but his grip tightened. Panic crept up her spine, but before she could react, a deep voice cut through her fear. "The lady asked you to let her go." Selena turned to see a tall man in a well-tailored suit, his presence commanding and unwavering. The men hesitated, sizing up the stranger, but something in his eyes made them step back. "Mind your business," the leader sneered. "I am," the man responded coolly. "The lady is my business now. Leave." The men muttered curses under their breath, slowly retreating. Selena exhaled, her hand rubbing her wrist where the grip had left marks. "Thank you," she whispered, fighting the tears that threatened to spill, not from fear, but from the weight of the day's events. "Are you hurt?" the man asked gently. "No, not from them," Selena said, her voice thick with emotion. The man's eyes softened with concern. "I'm James Oliver," he introduced himself. "Can I help you get home?" Selena's mind raced as she recognized the name. The Oliver family owned one of the largest telecommunications firms in the country, a fortune to rival her own. But it wasn't his wealth that caught her attention. It was his kindness. "I'm Selena," she replied, carefully concealing her last name. Then, surprising herself, she added, "And I don't want to go home. Not tonight." James nodded, his expression one of understanding. "What's troubling you?" Something in his kindness broke through her defenses. With a shaky breath, Selena began to explain. "I'm supposed to marry tomorrow, but I overheard my fiancé and my best friend planning to humiliate me at my wedding." James's face hardened, anger flickering in his eyes. "A man who would do that doesn't deserve you," he said, his voice low but firm. "I gave him 3 years of my life," Selena whispered. 3 years of tests and pretending to be someone I wasn't, all to see if he loved me for me. "And now you have your answer," James said gently. Selena nodded, fresh tears brimming in her eyes. "The worst part is that I loved him. I thought he was the one." James's voice softened with sincerity. "You deserve someone who will love you, blindfolded or not." His words were a balm to her wounded heart. For the first time, Selena felt something other than sorrow, hope, perhaps, or the beginning of something new. "I want justice," she whispered, her voice strong despite the tears. "I want them to feel what they planned for me." James nodded. "I'll help you. You deserve to make them pay." "I'll go through with the wedding," Selena said, a plan forming in her mind. "But when the time is right, I'll reveal everything." James's brow furrowed. "You'll face them alone?" "Not if you'll help me," she said with a spark of determination. He extended his hand, his eyes steady. "I'll stand by your side. You'll show them what true character looks like." The next day, as the sun rose over the Dawson estate, Selena prepared for a wedding she hadn't planned. With her family's support, a hidden identity, and a plan in place, the wedding would not go as Gabriel and Leah expected. Today would be a day of reckoning. She had cried enough tears in private. She would not give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. Mama Okoya led her to the center of the gathering where Andrew waited. His hand, when she reached for it, was cold and limp in hers. She could sense his barely contained amusement, could almost feel the smirk on his face as he surveyed her appearance. "My beautiful bride," he announced loudly, his voice dripping with mockery that only she could detect. "Isn't she a vision on this special day?" Uncomfortable murmurs rippled through the crowd. Even those who didn't know the truth sensed something was wrong with the scene before them. A respected elder stepped forward, his brow furrowed in concern. "Young man," he addressed Andrew, "is this how we honor a bride in our tradition? Where is her proper attire?" Andrew's grip on Amara's hand tightened painfully. "Elder, my bride chose this outfit herself. In her condition, she cannot see how it looks. Should I deny her choices simply because they are unusual?" The lie was so blatant, so cruel, that Amara had to bite her tongue to keep from exposing him immediately. "Not yet," she reminded herself. "Not until everyone sees his true character." "I thought you would be pleased," Amara said softly, playing her role. "I asked Blessing to help me look beautiful for you today." At the mention of Blessing's name, several heads turned toward the woman standing slightly apart from the gathering, resplendent in her blue and gold ensemble, the ensemble that should have been Amara's. Andrew cleared his throat. "Speaking of Blessing," he said, his voice suddenly firm and confident, "I have something to say to all of you." He dropped Amara's hand and stepped away from her, leaving her standing alone in the center of the gathering like an abandoned child. The sudden isolation made her fingers tremble, and for a moment, real vulnerability broke through her carefully constructed facade. "Friends and family," Andrew proclaimed, "I have tried to be a good man. When Amara was blinded saving me from that accident 3 years ago, I felt responsible. I stayed with her out of duty and compassion." Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. Amara could feel their eyes on her, pitying, condescending. But can a man truly be expected to tie himself forever to a woman who cannot see his face? Who cannot take care of herself, much less a home or children? Gasps of shock mingled with nods of agreement. Amara's hands curled into fists at her sides, her nails digging half-moons into her palms. "A man needs a whole woman by his side," Andrew continued, his voice growing bolder with each word. "A woman who can support him, not burden him." He gestured toward Blessing, who stepped forward with a triumphant smile. "Blessing has been by my side throughout these difficult years. She has shown me what true partnership can be." Amara swayed slightly on her feet, the full weight of the public humiliation crushing down on her. She had prepared for this moment, had known it was coming. Yet the reality was still breathtaking in its cruelty. "So I ask you all," Andrew's voice rose dramatically, "who should stand by my side today? This blind, useless woman who can't even dress herself properly," he pointed at Amara, "or this beautiful, capable woman who can be a true wife to me?" He pulled Blessing close, kissing her cheek as the crowd gasped. "Let those who think I should marry Amara raise their hands," Andrew challenged. In the crushing silence that followed, only one elderly woman in the back raised a trembling hand, quickly lowered when those around her stared in disapproval. "And those who believe I deserve happiness with Blessing?" A forest of hands rose, some hesitantly, others with enthusiasm. Amara heard Mama Okoya's voice ring out. "My son deserves a whole woman, not a broken one." The words cut deeper than any physical wound. Broken, useless, burden. The weight of their judgment pressed down on her chest until she could barely breathe. For a terrible moment, doubt crept in. What if Michael didn't come? What if her family's plan failed? What if she truly stood alone? "Then it's settled," Andrew announced triumphantly. "Remove this blind woman from my wedding and bring forth my true bride." Rough hands grabbed Amara's arms. She recognized the touch. Andrew's cousins, men who had once greeted her with respect, now treated her like refuse to be discarded. "Please," she begged, allowing real tears to spill from beneath her blindfold. "Andrew, after everything we've been through, after I saved your life and repaid that debt with 3 years of my life," he snapped, "we're even now. Get her out of here before she ruins the ceremony further." As they began dragging her toward the compound gates, a commotion erupted at the entrance. The sound of luxury cars pulling up, doors slamming, and murmurs of awe rippled through the gathering. "Who is that? Those vehicles cost more than this entire compound. Is that the Oliver crest on those cars?" The hands gripping Amara's arms suddenly loosened as everyone's attention shifted to the new arrivals. Through the gap in the crowd, Michael Oliver strode forward, impeccably dressed in richly embroidered attire that spoke of wealth and status. Behind him came an entourage of well-dressed men carrying ornate boxes and briefcases. Amara's heart leapt. He had come just as promised. Michael's eyes found her immediately, disheveled, tears streaming from beneath her blindfold, held like a prisoner between two men. His expression darkened with righteous anger. "Release her," he commanded, his voice carrying such authority that the men dropped her arms instantly. Andrew stepped forward, confusion and irritation battling on his face. "Who are you to interrupt my wedding?" Michael ignored him completely, walking directly to Amara. With gentle hands, he steadied her, then turned to face the gathering. "I am Michael Oliver, heir to the Oliver Telecommunications Group," he announced, his voice ringing with confidence. "And I have come to propose marriage to Miss Amara Obi, with a bride price worthy of her value." Gasps echoed through the courtyard. Andrew's face contorted with disbelief. "This woman," he sputtered, gesturing at Amara's appearance. "This blind, worthless—" "Choose your next words carefully," Michael interrupted, his tone deadly quiet. "The woman you call worthless is worth more than your entire existence." He gestured, and his entourage stepped forward. One by one, they opened their cases, revealing stacks of money, deed papers, and jewelry that glittered blindingly in the sunlight. "I offer 1 billion naira as bride price for Miss Amara's hand," Michael announced, "plus deeds to properties across Lagos and jewelry crafted by the finest artisans." The crowd erupted in shocked exclamations. Mama Okoya's mouth hung open in disbelief. Blessing clutched Andrew's arm so tightly her knuckles turned white. "This is absurd," Andrew finally managed. "She's blind. She's the woman I choose," Michael stated simply. He turned to Amara, taking her hands in his. "If she will have me." The tenderness in his voice made Amara's heart flutter unexpectedly. This was supposed to be an act, a performance to teach Andrew a lesson. Yet, Michael's touch felt like a lifeline in a storm. "Yes," she whispered loud enough for those nearby to hear. "I will have you." Andrew, red-faced with humiliation and rage, stepped forward. "This is clearly a trick. Look at her," he shouted, pointing at Amara's inappropriate attire. "She's wearing the clothing of a prostitute beneath that coat. She has no shame, no morals. That's why I rejected her." Blessing rushed to his side. "It's true. Show everyone what she's wearing underneath. She's not the innocent victim she pretends to be." The crowd's attention snapped back to Amara, curiosity and judgment in their eyes. Andrew's accusation had created doubt, exactly as he'd intended. "Take off your coat," he demanded. "Show everyone the truth." Amara stood perfectly still, her moment of truth approaching. Behind her blindfold, her eyes met Michael's briefly, a silent communication passing between them. "Very well," she said calmly, her hands moving to the buttons of her outer garment. "Let everyone see the truth." As her fingers worked on the final button, the courtyard fell silent, all eyes fixed on her. This was the moment that would change everything. The courtyard was still reeling from the shock. Gasps turned into murmurs. Some covered their mouths in disbelief. Others looked at Andrew with outright disgust. No one could deny the weight of what had just been revealed. Andrew stood frozen, his face pale and contorted. His bravado had vanished, replaced by pure humiliation. Blessing, still at his side, shrank back, his eyes turned toward her with contempt. Amara took a deep breath and stepped forward, no longer needing support. Her posture was regal, her presence commanding. "I was willing to give up my pride," she said, her voice clear, "because I believed in love. But now I see that love built on lies, on ego, on pity is not love at all. It's bondage. And today I free myself." She turned to face the crowd fully. "To everyone who looked down on me, who saw my blindness as weakness, remember this. Strength is not in what we see with our eyes, but what we carry in our hearts. And today, I carry truth." Tears welled in Amara's eyes, but this time, they were not tears of pain. They were tears of release, of joy. She looked down at Michael, then out at the crowd. "For years, I walked in darkness to test a love I thought was real. Today, I step into the light with a man who sees me, truly sees me. Yes, Michael, I will have you." The crowd erupted in cheers, applause, and ululations. Drummers picked up their sticks. Dancers swayed. A spontaneous celebration broke out. Andrew stood at the edge of it all, disbelieving and defeated. Blessing had slipped away into the crowd, her glory short-lived and her betrayal exposed. Mama Okoya collapsed onto a bench, muttering prayers, her pride shattered. Michael stood and embraced Amara gently. He removed a beautiful silk handkerchief and wiped the tears from her cheeks. She smiled, radiant and whole. In that moment, Amara was no longer the blind girl. She was the woman who saw through deception, who rose from betrayal, and who chose herself.